I'll let everyone in. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. We're going to get started in just a minute. Okay. So while we wait to get started for just another minute, if everyone would be so helpful as to drop your name in the chat and your pronouns, which are super helpful. And also it would be great to know what businesses or organizations or maybe yourself that you're representing today, just to get a sense of who's in the room. And I think we can probably get started. It's 2 minutes after, so I just want to respect everyone's time. So thank you for joining us. This is the third meeting of the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance of the year. So we do these quarterly, essentially. We do them 4 times a year. The next one's going to be coming up in November, and I hope you'll join us then. If we have not met, I'm Allison Montagnan. I'm the Rhode Island Food Policy Council's engagement manager, and I will be your concierge for this meeting today. And this meeting is all about you. It's focused on giving providers and distributors time to talk to each other about how to move locally harvested product through Rhode Island's emergency food system, and making sure that it benefits everyone. So before we really get into that, I just want to shout out our core partners. So the organizations that founded the Rhody Feeding Rhody project: the Commercial Fisheries Center of Rhode Island, Eating with the Ecosystem, Farm Fresh, and the Hopes Harvest Program, of course, the Rhode Island Food Policy Council, and Southside Community Land Trust. And also a reminder that Rhody Feeding Rhody is funded by the USDA's LFPP grant. So the core partners applied for this with the belief and hope that with collaboration, we can improve the health and quality of life for Rhode Islanders facing hunger. And we can also create security for farmers and fishers and build new and consistent markets. We can build stronger state economy and local supply, where local supply meets local demand, and more of our jobs and our dollars stay in the state. And it's also about reducing our environmental footprint, because less food waste is better for the environment and less transportation is better for the environment. So thank you for making time today and joining us in making this a priority. So the quick rundown of the day is that we're going to hear some market updates from the core partners, just what's been happening and what have they been doing as far as Rhody Feeding Rhody is concerned. We're going to also get an update on policy from Rhode Island Food Policy Council from our director, Nessa. And we're also just going to open it up for you to have a discussion. So it's going to be, oh, am I not sharing my screen?
You're all good, but
okay.
no.
Give me a second. I will share my screen. Now I have to change my screen setting. Sorry, everyone. I really thought it was already up there. How is that? Does that look like a shared screen? Okay, yes. Thank you. So yeah, so back to what I was saying. So basically, we're just going to have a quick update from the core partners, and then we're going to hear about policy progress, which is really relevant, especially to this project. And then we're going to open it up to a discussion. So you will be able to talk to each other and find out what you're selling, what you're looking for, and how we can make those connections work. So we're going to kick it off with these quick updates. We're going to start with the Commercial Fisheries Center of Rhode Island, and then we'll turn it to Farm Fresh, and then we'll turn to Southside. So Fred and Shay, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Allie. Thanks everyone for joining today. I'm just going to give a quick rundown of some program updates. For the seafood donation program, we've been continuing with our weekly deliveries of fresh seafood to our network of 9 community partners. We've recently brought on 2 new community-based organizations that have been able to integrate seafood into their existing food distribution efforts. So far in 2024, we donated over 122,000 pounds of fresh local seafood to these partners. And in May and June, we hit a record in terms of the volume moved since we first started this back in 2020. So during both of these months, we distributed over 20,000 pounds. So that was a huge achievement. Through 2024, we've worked with 15 seafood industry partners, and we have directed over $130,000 to the Rhode Island seafood industry. We've also been collaborating with Farm Fresh, Eating with the Ecosystem, Chartwells, Tony Seafood, on an initiative to promote monkfish sliders and other local seafood products into K through 12 public schools in Rhode Island. And so far, we have done 2 sampling events with great success, and we're planning to do additional sampling and menuing events in the fall. So we're excited for the school to start soon, so we can start getting to work on that. Anything I missed, Fred?
No, that covers it all. You know, you can see it's an increase. We have 2 new partners, which is fantastic. It's just taxing. Like this week here, we'll deliver fish tomorrow and Thursday and Friday, and we'll probably do maybe 6,000 to 7,000 pounds of seafood this week.
Thank you so much, Fred and Shay. Awesome work. Congratulations. It is a lot, but it's great.
all right. Ready to go?
We're ready.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Shannon. I am the Associate Director of Hope's Harvest, but I'm also reporting out for Allie Jennings, who manages our hunger relief programs. But for the gleaning side of things, all is going well. June and July were a little bit slower, but we really have seen an uptick in farms reaching out with surplus so far in August, and I assume that will be the trend going into September. We have gleaned 104,000 pounds, so that changed since I pulled this number last week. And 4,000 pounds have come from the Hope Street Market, which is a new recovery system that we've been doing this year. But have served 43 hunger relief agencies and worked with 41 farms or producers so far this year. And yeah, just looking forward to getting more food out of fields coming up. Farm to Food Pantry, 35 agencies have purchased from 43 local food producers so far on the Market Mobile platform. Agencies have purchased over $50,000 worth of food, and that is comprised of 70 unique different items and goods, and eggs are making up 30% of that spending. And milk and tomatoes are other ones that are highly purchased, but I think it's worth noting that folks are really utilizing this funding for eggs so that they can stock up their pantries. And then the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, folks know that has changed over to a card for most seniors to use. So Allie has been working with homebound seniors who would like deliveries. And so we've delivered 200 boxes so far, and that'll continue through December. And just under $10,000 of produce, herbs, and honey have been purchased from 15 different producers. So we've been coordinating home deliveries, bulk deliveries to agencies, including Block Island. And Allie's also been facilitating some pop-up markets at some senior centers, and having farmers distribute and be able to make sales there through the SFMNP cards. Yeah, that's what we've been up to. Thank you.
Sounds like a lot. Thank you so much, Shannon. You say it so humbly, but that's really a lot of stuff to move and a lot of dollars to go around.
Yes, it is a busy time of year, isn't it?
It is. Thank you. Okay, Southside, you are up.
All right. Hello, everyone. So my name is Amelia. Thank you, Allison. I am the Food Access Associate here at CLT. So what we do is the aggregation program. You've probably heard about it already, but just a quick deep refresher is right now we mostly use LFPA funding along with a few other grants to work with a network of 30 farmers to aggregate produce and distribute it to a number of organizations around Providence and Rhode Island. So some updates of how things have been going so far is we had a Brown University funded volunteer, her name, or more like an intern, her name was Shira Wolpolowitz, and she was amazing. She really helped us with like implementing fun things like being able to go to the farm and receive from the farmers there rather than making them drive 30 minutes to Providence to our healthy food hub to come drop off here. And they were really, really excited. About half of our farmers are at the urban property or the rural property. So that was fun and really helpful to have someone to be able to help with that. So the tenant businesses that we have downstairs, we have D Spot, Black Beans PBD, and the West African Superstore. And they've started to buy produce through our program, and they're changing up their menu to sort of like be able to use the produce that they're buying. And it's really cool because I've been able to buy from one of them on 2 different occasions, and she's used the collard greens in one meal and she used the eggplants in another meal, and it was amazing. It was really fun. And that's going really well, and we're going to continue doing that. The next thing is that this year we are working with 30 farmers, and 7 of them are completely brand new to the wholesaling process. So that is sort of like a teaching process in itself. We've been able to move around 12,000 units of produce, and that's, you know, pounds and bunches and everything all together, which is about $27,000 paid to those 30 farmers. And all of that food has pretty much gone out for free to about like over 800 families on like a regular basis. So that's pretty great. And then we have 4 confirmed giveaways this year. We've already done 1, and we gave away over $3,000 of produce at the Amos House block party. And it was completely gone. Like we bought all that. We did a little bit of gleaning at the Armory Park Farmers Market for that, and all of that produce went everything. So that's really nice when you sort of do a little shot in the dark and go, let's buy $3,000 worth of produce from farmers and pray and hope that it doesn't go to waste, and it completely doesn't, and it feels really good. And then we have another gleaning coming up this Thursday, so hopefully that'll be, you know, nice. It just feels good to be able to boost up the farmers like that. Yeah, that's how things are going and things we're excited for. I think that's all I had to touch upon.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all great updates, all good news. So thank you for bringing some sunshine into the day.
Good.
Nessa, would you please give us maybe an update on policy?
Sure, happy to do that. It's great to see everybody today. I'm Nessa Richmond, the Executive Director of the Rhode Island Food Policy Council. And just want to say, you know, it's amazing hearing about all these pounds of food and all of these dollars and all of these families being fed by these implementation partners, these core partners. And we're super excited, especially to have those of you who maybe haven't participated in this program yet, but are in a place of wanting to sell local product into this market or buy local product and have it be a part of this market. So thank you for taking time to be here. The Rhode Island Food Policy Council is a nonprofit, an independent nonprofit organization working to build a more equitable, accessible, economically vibrant, and environmentally sustainable food system in Rhode Island. We don't do the work of moving the food on the ground like the others you've heard from today. What we do is bring people and organizations together in a way they might not come together otherwise. Organizations that share a commitment to this mission and want to see a more just and resilient food system in the state. And we operate with a strong commitment to equity and recognize that a lot of the negative impacts of Rhode Island's current food system are grounded in a history of colonialism and genocide of Indigenous people, of slavery and of concentration of wealth and power in the hands of too few people. And we operate with a belief that when power shifts to be shared more equitably across our communities and our state, that's when we can transform the future for generations to come. So to that end, we work to build a network of stakeholders, just like you guys, from across the entire food system, and to leverage that network to build that just and resilient food system, where all Rhode Islanders can have access to nourishing and affordable food. And I want to note before the policy update one more thing, which is just that everyone is welcome to be a member of the Rhode Island Food Policy Council. So Allie's going to put some notes in the chat about how to do that. And you can learn how also by visiting our website. You can see the website there, and you can just click on the Get Involved page, and that's how you can find out more about that. So my role today is to give you the food policy update. I'm going to talk mostly about the federal farm bill, but also a little preview of state legislation. This work is important. The policy work is important to growing the market that we're talking about, this market that helps our local farmers and our food insecure neighbors connect in a way that helps them both. Because policy is the way that our government takes on complex issues. And public policy decisions that we make today or make in the fall or in the coming year shape the society of tomorrow. So that's why we want to have this part of the call really focus on developing understanding of what's happening in government, because there are laws and regulations and investments that our government is making that are part of it's a piece of a larger puzzle. And that's a puzzle that we want to make sure is aimed at creating a better future for all people. So in terms of federal policy, for those who don't know, the Farm Bill is a package of legislation that's passed once every 5 years, and it has an enormous impact on farming livelihoods, on how food is grown, and on how people who don't have enough money to buy food get the food that they need. It covers programs that range from crop insurance for farmers to healthy food access for lower income families, to supports for beginning farmers, training for them to become sustainable in terms of their farming and marketing practices. The Farm Bill basically sets the stage for our agriculture system, our farm system, our food system. And every 5 years it expires, and then it's updated, which is a really extensive process where it gets proposed and debated and eventually passed by Congress and signed into law by the president. There are a lot of different what's called titles or chapters of the Farm Bill. And the last one was enacted into law in 2018, and it actually already expired in 2023. Unfortunately, the US Congress hasn't been able to pass a new Farm Bill because of disagreements between the two major parties. And I'll address that and what we can expect to see happening next in a minute. I just want to say first that out of the titles in the Farm Bill, we pay the most attention to nutrition, conservation, research, and extension. And then there's a miscellaneous title that's kind of a catch-all. But right now, that includes the Beginning and Socially Disadvantaged and Veteran Farmers and Ranchers program, as well as programs about workforce development and labor safety. So the Farm Bill proposal was released by the House of Representatives, the US House of Representatives last spring. Unfortunately, that proposal that they introduced cut a lot of the programs that would be helpful to a just and resilient food system. And so in late July, we were actually happy to see that the bill was pulled back off of the floor. What that probably meant was that the House leadership wasn't confident that they had enough votes to pass the bill, which suggests that some of the Republicans there who are in the majority were planning on crossing party lines and voting this bill down. So it was not voted off the floor. And now Congress is on an August recess, which means that the soonest that the House would take up the bill again would be after Labor Day. Although whether they use the time between Labor Day and when a new Congress would come in to vote on a farm bill is really quite uncertain. So I do want to note that as part of the Farm Bill discussion, there's been a proposal to include permanent funding for the program that has provided the bulk of funds for buying the food that's been distributed through the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance. That's the Local Food Purchase Cooperative Agreement program. And so in order to make that a permanent part of the Farm Bill, our own senior senator, Senator Reed, has introduced the Eat Local Foods Act. Its bill number is 3982. It's really modeled on the Local Food Purchase Cooperative Agreement program, and it would create a permanent grant program for states and tribal governments to buy food for distribution to nearby hunger relief programs. So it would leverage government procurement and purchasing power to increase access to locally sourced, fresh, healthy, nutritious food for underserved communities, helping farmers and fishermen and local food producers grow their markets. It had a dozen different co-sponsors, and we believe that Senator Reed will be reintroducing it, which is necessary because it's going to be, a new conversation when they try to pass the Farm Bill again. So that's my federal Farm Bill update. And in terms of the Rhode Island update, I just wanted to give a little bit of a preview. The Rhode Island legislature, for those who don't know, won't be in session again until January. But I did want to note that there was a particular piece of legislation supported by our state's Department of Environmental Management that also has the potential to support this work that we're doing, connecting local food with food insecure communities. Last session, it was Senate Bill 2941, and it was sponsored by Senator Lou DePalma, the chair of our Senate Finance Committee, and co-sponsored by a number of others, including Senator Susan Sosnowski and Alana DiMario. And it would establish what's called a restricted receipt account for the Department of Agriculture. So they would be able to keep the fees that they charge for various things in the department. And there would be an advisory committee established to determine the uses of those funds. Some of those funds could be used to support the work that we're doing here. So we believe that legislation will probably be introduced again. It would be assigned a new bill number, and that's one way that we might be able to advocate for sustainable funding for this program. I know that was a lot. I'm going to pass it over to Allie now. We just want to make sure that everybody who's interested in the growth and development and sustainability of this market understands the important role that our public policy has to play in making sure that that happens. I'll pass it back over to you, Allie.
Thank you, Nessa. That was very helpful. And I know that is a lot to digest. So we'll send a follow-up of this meeting with those bill numbers and other key information that you might need from this presentation, and obviously the slide deck itself. So stay tuned if you didn't take any notes on those particulars. So this is it. Here we are. We have arrived. Really, we're going to open it up now. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to talk about these things. How can we welcome more farmers and fishers into this alliance? How can we empower more distribution points to our local food system? And you are the keepers of that information. So let us know where you want to start in that conversation. I'm happy to probe you with some questions, but by all means, let's open it up and just come off mute. There's no reason to, you certainly can raise your hand if you want to, but we're here to have a conversation. I can start picking on people if you want. Well, I'm going to start with the chat because some people introduced themselves and I think it's helpful to kind of call out who's in the room. So Emily, you were first. I'm going to pick on you, but would you mind coming off mute and just kind of introducing what you're all doing at the East Bay Food Pantry, which is my local community's pantry, conveniently. But I would love to know what brought you here, what you guys might be selling right now or distributing rather, and what you might be buying and what you're looking for.
Sure thing, Allie. Thanks. So yeah, the East Bay Food Pantry serves towns in the East Bay, which is East Providence down to Aquidneck Island, Tiverton, Little Compton. And we participate with a few locally sourced producers, notably Farm Fresh and Hope's Harvest, which has been a relationship that predates my time in this position. So certainly at least 3 years, if not longer. And then we also have a few local growers in our area who donate. There's a URI Master Gardeners garden maintained at Mount Hope Farm, and they donate all of their produce to us, which usually amounts over the course of a summer to 1,500 to 2,500 pounds, depending on how things turn out and volunteers and that kind of thing. So that's all donated. There are gardens at Blythewold Mansion and Cogshell Farm here in Bristol who also donate. And then we have local just family gardeners who, bring in a basket of cucumbers or zucchini. Those tend to be very popular home gardening surplus items. And that's a great way to connect with the community. But I got pretty curious. We actually tried to, well, we did not tried. We maintained our own small farm in Bristol for several years. And that was certainly it was a great program from a lot of perspectives. And it just turned out to be labor that was too challenging in terms of keeping it going. But in the wake of that, I've gotten really curious about how to source more produce locally, and have had conversations with certainly a few folks on this call. And it's something that, we work with a wholesaler as well, who, we purchase food from twice a week. So we're conscious of that's a long-standing relationship, but we are in a position where we could potentially add. It wouldn't even necessarily mean switching over where we source a particular item. We could just add variety to what we offer by sourcing through vendors who grow locally. And it could be part of what already exists, which is our local, some of our volunteers named it the farm stand, which is very fun. So they say, they tell our clients that these are all locally grown items. And so it could really just supplement those. So it's something that we're certainly interested in and very open to, and thankfully it could, we have the budget to incorporate it. So I'm excited to keep that conversation going, or continue it in this forum and then directly with potential vendors.
Awesome. Thank you. Y'all are doing great work. 2 quick follow-up questions. One would be, how many people are you serving in like an average week? And then also, what are your like storage capacities for refrigeration, frozen, that kind of thing?
Yeah, both are great questions. So on an average Wednesday, which is when we do our main pantry shopping, we're serving between 125 and 150 households. And then on about the same number of households come through on Fridays, which is when we just do fresh produce and bread and some other extra items. So some of those are duplicates. Those aren't, so it wouldn't be 300 unique families necessarily, unique households. But that doesn't actually matter for this purpose, because we're giving out 300 households worth of produce every week. So it's high volume. So certainly we, it's a lot of people. And then, sorry. Oh, storage capacity. So right now that is a limitation. We're looking at a remodel of our space that would open up a lot more square footage for our use, that brings the possibility of a walk-in and things that would pretty dramatically increase our storage capacity. So I would say that for now, that's a limitation with a potential resolution in, as near a future as remodeling and approvals, et cetera, can take. I try not to be too optimistic about that. But.
One thing at a time.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have follow-up questions for Emily or thoughts to offer?
Yeah. Hi, Emily. We donate produce with you guys sometimes, but I will say it is difficult for our team because of the lower amount that you guys can take because of your storage capacity restrictions. And there's just not that much else in that area that we're ever doing there. And so it's hard for me to find staff time to drive 45 minutes both ways. But if you ever have events that you want to make sure you have a lot of produce for, let me know. And if you are routinely ordering on the Market Mobile platform, I can pretty easily add produce to that delivery with enough notice. So those are options as well for me to help get you guys more produce.
Oh, that's super helpful, Shannon. Thank you. And the bridge doesn't help. So I know that was
the bridge, but many are.
Yeah. So that but that is good information for me to know. And I Jocelyn is our staff member who manages the food programs. So I think I'll be a conduit and pass that along to her. But that's good to know. We've also been in touch with Coastal Food Shed, and they are actually a little, even though they're primarily a Massachusetts based organization, they're closer in geographically and not as many bridges. So but yeah, that's that limitation and kind of how we might mitigate it is very helpful.
Cool. Okay, I want to just get some other voices in the room here. I'm going to look through the chat and see who else commented from another pantry. Lisa, I don't know if you're able to come off mute, but we would love to hear a little more about what's happening at the hospital pantry.
I don't know if Lisa's still here, but
she left.
Julia is.
I do see Julia. Thank you. Yeah, Julia. Clinica Esperanza, what is happening over there? We would love to know.
Yeah, hi everyone. So Clinica Esperanza Hope Clinic, just a little background for those who are unfamiliar. We're a free clinic in Providence, Rhode Island in the Olneyville neighborhood. We see patients that are uninsured, are not eligible for insurance, can't afford insurance. And we really cater to the Spanish-speaking community. 90% of our patients speak Spanish as their primary or only language. So we have navegantes who are certified community health workers, medical assistants, and medical interpreters who are kind of the one-stop shop for patients during their visits with our providers. We have mostly volunteer providers providing a wide range of specialty care, primary care, specialty care, et cetera. For our veggie bags, we partner with Southside Community Land Trust, and we have since I think 2019 or 2020. So it's been a very long-standing partnership with them where we get bi-weekly food bag deliveries of all local produce. So whatever, we're not really sure what we're going to get week to week, which is really exciting. Our patients absolutely love this program. To date, I think we've served about 300 unique patients and their families. And this program for us for this year started in July, and it's slated to go through, I think, early or mid-November, which is awesome. With these longer growing seasons, it's always a great opportunity to get more fresh produce to our patients more as often as possible. So that's kind of what's going on with us. I believe we started a new partnership. It's not under my my purview, but our Navigante coordinator, Rosa, was communicating with folks from either Hope's Harvest or Market Mobile. I can't remember which one. I get the two of them confused. And we've been getting additional veggie deliveries every week or every other week, which is great. So we've been able to help out even more patients access food. And most of our patients, we screen all of our patients for food insecurity. So that's how they get on our veggie bag list. So we're really trying to outreach to patients who have food insecurity in their household, in addition to chronic illnesses like diabetes and so on. So this program, our program at the clinic, is really kind of twofold. It's the food is medicine frame with the additional support of helping our patients who are food insecure. So that's kind of what we have going on at the clinic right now. I haven't run the reports for this program year yet because it's still pretty early, but I think to date we've helped or supported, I'd say, anywhere between 30 to 40 unique patients and their families. And we do have people that receive bags every other week or a couple times a month, depending on their need and their schedule.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Julia. That's really helpful. I think maybe you mentioned it, maybe you didn't, but I would also love to know your storage capacity. Like, what do you have for frozen, refrigeration, volume, all of that?
Yeah, so we don't have any space for refrigeration or anything like that. So we just focus on fresh produce and dry goods. We do have food drives a couple times a year to stock up a pantry with household staple items. And in terms of volume for the Southside veggie bags, we get 100 bags per week. And so families, depending on their family size, they can get anywhere from 1 bag to I think up to 4. So it's 1 bag for 2 people. So we have folks who have, multi-generational households. So they have 8 or 9 folks living with them. So they're able to get up to 4 bags depending on their need.
Nice. That sounds really awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome, of course.
Any questions or thoughts or notes for Julia from the rest of the group? Easy. Okay. I'm seeing some other folks on the call that have not introduced themselves in the chat, which is totally okay. But I'm going to pick on Maggie because she did comment in the chat. And interestingly, she's not a provider nor a distributor. So I would love to know, Maggie, what might you be hearing in the small business community about this kind of market?
Thanks for that, Allison. Hi, everyone. There's a lot of folks that I work with, both on the farming side and the value added or CPG side, that are really interested in either using local products and having an easier way to get access to them. Because sometimes I think they're, and David can speak to this. I'm going to throw you under the bus too, David. David can speak to this a little bit. That's hard to always make those connections, right? We have some great resources in place, but sometimes it might be okay maybe to be a little more direct. And they want to know how to do it, right? So, and that's something we're working on at the commerce level. Right now, we're trying to really define some of these things, obviously, through this food strategy and through this second stage. I hate the name second stage, but next step, food business, right? And there's some work going on around that. So that's why I'm here.
Thanks, Maggie.
People want to buy stuff. I'm working with someone right now who's got a product that's top 9 allergen free, and it uses all vegetable powders as really the base. And they're really interested in trying to do that more locally, as opposed to having to buy it from either other parts of the country or overseas. And we're trying to put together a grant application with Commerce to navigate some of that, using Johnson & Wales as the knowledge provider. So there's some really cool opportunities. We just it should be easier.
That is true. We're getting there. It's going to take a while, right? Every good change takes a lot of steps, but thank you. And thanks for helping all those folks. I know it's a lot.
It's okay. It's what I do.
I just wanted to say one thing to Maggie, if that's okay. I think that sounds really cool, and I also have been trying to figure out what we can do with a lot of B grade produce that I can't serve a tomato that's gonna split or already has, but that tomato is still perfectly fine to eat today and tomorrow. And so I'm trying to figure out who's willing to work with me on that tight timeline. But you know, I have farmers who have bird damaged corn or, you know, some worms in the top of their corn that if you top off the top, it's perfectly fine. But just trying to figure out the whole processing part of it, is more than I have time for right now. But I'm so happy to have those conversations.
We should sideline 100%, Shannon, because you don't want to process it. You just want to be able to help the farmer move it, right? And
Yeah.
then the restaurateur will process it or the food maker will process it. And that then keeps it's even more viable, right? Because it doesn't have to go through any more hands. We'll connect. Let's connect.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, don't be shy about dropping your contact info in the chat, everyone. I'm sure there's a lot of afterthoughts that you're going to have once we finish this conversation. So I feel like I've heard that a lot too, Shannon, where it's, what do you do with this stuff that's perfectly good to eat, but they're time sensitive. It's really just the timing of the logistics that is such a challenge in addition to those connections.
Yeah, our Harvest Kitchen program was able to process some corn recently and freeze it. So that's one step in the right direction, but there's just so much.
So much. That's good. Okay, what are you all thinking? I feel like there's more folks in the room that have yet to speak up. Catherine, I see you jotted a note in the chat, so thank you for that, letting us know where you're coming from.
It's also fine, if you just have a question that you want to ask of one of the core partners who presented a bit of their information. We don't have to, if we can have the call be a little shorter than planned, but if you have questions about what you heard, or comments, they're more than welcome.
I have a question. How much longer is funding available through the local food cooperative purchasing program?
So the funding for the work is kind of coming from two different places. The LFPA funding, which is the funding that goes through DEM and is for buying the food, I believe that goes, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think that goes through next August. Is that right?
Good.
The LFPP, which is funding that the council applied for that helps to support the staff power, and other associated costs that aren't the food, that goes through next September 30. So about a year, about 13 more months.
Great.
I have heard, little whispers that there might be conversations going on at the federal level about just extending the LFPA that are separate from the Farm Bill conversations. I have not heard anything directly about that myself. So that would be great if that happens. But, again, it's like total hearsay at this point. And the LFPP is a competitive grant program, so that funding won't be renewed. Although there's always the possibility of applying for funding that would help to take, Rhody, Feeding Rhody Alliance from where it is now and continue this work through other competitive grants, but they are quite competitive. This one was probably like a 20%, I think, hit rate for this grant, this 3-year grant.
Yeah, and so the rate of spending right now is on par with finishing up in a year. You think everything will be used up?
Well, the LFPP, yes, I think that work is going as planned. And as far as I can tell, DEM would have the clearest idea of the dollars that are flowing out. But I think that after a kind of a slow start, things are rolling and all of the funds are being expended on course to be gone by the time we talked about a year from now.
Cool. Looks like
Shannon,
about 200,000 this year.
I don't
Just-
have, yeah,
Well,
I
just the
don't-
numbers that I just heard from the reports back, so that's
yeah.
cool. Thank you. I'm interested in all of that, and seeing the sustainability question addressed, and appreciate everybody's efforts to make this continue to happen. It's really, really important work, and yeah, it's the classic win-win of community food security, where farmers and people who are in need benefit. It's good work.
Thank you for being here, Catherine. David, I saw you nod your head a little bit. Have you heard anything about that extension?
Yeah, I mean, they're just talking about it. They, obviously the Democrats would like to see the Farm Bill and those acts move forward first. But it's a possibility. I mean, anything's possible, unfortunately. I hate to say that, but that's where we are. We're in an anything possible zone right now.
And I will note, just for the folks on the call, that the core members of the team and the council have been working together on an op-ed, and we hope to have that placed at some point in time when it'll be helpful to the Farm Bill process, which may not be until after the election. We're going to check in with our federal leaders around what makes the most sense, but we're excited to keep informing people about what the Rhody Feeding Rhody Alliance is and what it means, and that it needs to become a sustainable program, because the benefits are just so clear and evident and strong and important. So does anyone have any final questions, comments, or anything that they want to share before we close the call out this afternoon? Yeah, Kate.
I can just add something. Shay already kind of talked about the seafood program and did a great job. But if anybody is looking to source seafood and needs help kind of connecting with the seafood world, I think it can be kind of confusing sometimes about who to buy from, or I think especially if you're trying to feed people that are insecure, maybe you don't think that like seafood's included, it really fits within your budget, but there's lots of species that we can like help, you can connect with or consult with that I'm happy to connect with anybody who's interested in potentially incorporating more seafood into your programs and just needs some extra help or wants more information. So just offering that up as well. And I can put my email in the chat.
Yeah, that would be awesome, Kate. We kind of had like a little spark or spurt of trying to do fresh fish, but that fell through because it didn't seem very possible for the way that our program runs. Because we don't want anything sitting around on people's front doors for hours, little things like that. So it'd be cool to connect on the logistics of that. So I'll reach out to you. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Amelia.
Awesome. Last call for input. We can certainly close up a few minutes early. I do want to remind everyone, so like we're at the point of, we need support mutually, right? So the more people you can tell about Rhody Feeding Rhody, the better. The more people you can invite to these meetings and these conversations, the better. So we're going to come back together on November 20th, for our next meeting. So hopefully between now and then, we'll have even more great updates from the core partners to share about who they're working with and pounds of food being distributed. But would love to hear from you in between that time. How's it going? What are you looking for? Because there's a lot more individuals in this network that we can connect about all of these things. Oh, I love that, Shannon. Thank you. So in the chat, Shannon's saying that if any pantries need volunteer help, to reach out to her. So they can put that in the Hope's Harvest Farm Fresh newsletter, which would be amazing. We would love that.
I'm sorry. I'm always just listening because I'm trying to, make sure I
No.
stick things in my head, or more often stick things in here, so that I can remember to connect people if needed. But I'm also, like I mentioned, I've been with Blackbird Farm for 15 years. And while like seafood, sometimes you don't think of it as a cost-effective product, there are a lot of things that we don't sell. I mean, they do sell eventually. The thing is, it's frozen meat, so it is relatively shelf stable. But ground pork, we could do at a discounted rate. liver, things of that nature. We can do it at a discounted rate, and it's really great product. So if there's anyone looking for meat, always keep that in mind.
David, should we use your eat drink email if we want to reach you for
Yeah,
Blackbird stuff?
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Got it. And I think you already put that in the chat, but if not, please do, just in case.
You can find me somewhere.
In case for some reason somebody doesn't know who you are.
It's okay.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Well, we can certainly close up a few minutes early, everyone. Again, thank you for making time to be here. These are really important conversations to be had, and I love seeing new faces every time we get together. So that means that something's working in the mix here. So everybody have a great day. I will see you hopefully in November, but if not sooner.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.